Flukey Stokes, a short biography. Chapter 1. Southside Beginnings. William Morris. Flukey Stokes was born on December 12, 1937, on Chicago's South Side, a place marked by segregation, poverty, and limited opportunities for young black men. The neighborhoods around him were full of hustle, dice games, hustlers on corners, pool halls, and men who lived fast because there was no slow life to be found. Flukey grew up sharp, observant, and fearless. As a teenager, he gravitated toward the street economy, first learning the rhythms of gambling and small hustles. He quickly realized that in his world, charisma and nerve could build a career just as fast as education or skill. Those early years shaped the hustler he would become, bold, flamboyant, and always calculating the odds. Chapter 2. The Making of a Kingpin. During the 1960s and early 1970s, Flukey expanded from petty hustles into more serious underground enterprise. At first it was gambling houses, pool halls, and neighborhood card games, all of which he ran with a combination of charm, intimidation, and the ability to keep people loyal. But the real money was in narcotics. Heroin was sweeping American cities, and Flukey saw opportunity. He began building a network, starting small but growing rapidly. By the late 1970s, he shifted heavily into cocaine, a drug whose profit margins dwarfed anything that came before it. At his peak, Flukey reportedly oversaw dozens of drug houses, each staffed with managers, runners, and armed security. His operation was pulling in tremendous cash, sometimes 6 figures in a single day, enough to elevate him from hustler to underground royalty. Chapter 3. The Man of Many Suits. Flukey Stokes did not simply make money. He made sure everyone saw it. Known for his silk suits, flamboyant hats, giant diamonds, and a fleet of customized Cadillacs, he built a persona as loud as the profits he earned. His presence alone stopped conversations. Women admired him, men feared him, and children in the neighborhood stared at him like he was a comic book character made real. He openly flaunted his wealth while claiming it all came from gambling. Even on official tax documents, he listed professional gambler as his occupation. Whether people believed that or not didn't matter. The image served him well. Flukey wasn't just a criminal figure. He was a showman. That mixture of style, danger, and confidence helped him dominate Chicago's underworld for years. Chapter 3. The Man of Many Suits. Flukey Stokes did not simply make money. He made sure everyone saw it. Known for his silk suits, flamboyant hats, giant diamonds, and a fleet of customized Cadillacs, he built a persona as loud as the profits he earned. His presence alone stopped conversations. Women admired him, men feared him, and children in the neighborhood stared at him like he was a comic book character made real. He openly flaunted his wealth while claiming it all came from gambling. Even on official tax documents, he listed professional gambler as his occupation. Whether people believed that or not didn't matter. The image served him well. Flukey wasn't just a criminal figure. He was a showman. That mixture of style, danger, and confidence helped him dominate Chicago's underworld for years. Chapter 4. Willie the Wimp and a Funeral for the Ages. Flukey had several children, but none more famous than his son, Willie the Wimp Stokes Jr. Willie, much like his father, became deeply involved in street life. In 1984, tragedy struck when Willie Jr. was murdered in a drug-related incident. Flukey responded with one of the most outrageous funerals in American history. Willie Jr. was laid to rest sitting in a Cadillac-styled coffin, complete with functioning headlights, a steering wheel, crushed velvet interior, and $100 bills tucked between his diamond-ringed fingers. The spectacle shocked Chicago, drew media attention across the country, and became legendary, even inspiring a blues song later covered by Stevie Ray Vaughan titled Willie the Wimp. The funeral cemented Flukey Stokes as a larger-than-life figure whose world was filled with both opulence and tragedy. Chapter 5. Crime, Corruption, and Federal Eyes. As Flukey's drug empire grew, so did the attention from law enforcement. In the late 1970s and mid-1980s, he faced several charges, including narcotics and bribery cases. Although he served time, none of the convictions meaningfully slowed his rise. Authorities viewed him as one of the wealthiest and most flamboyant drug dealers in Chicago. At one point, Federal investigators were quietly assembling a sweeping racketeering case against him, one that could have finally dismantled his operation. Behind the scenes, informants whispered, rivals plotted, and corrupt officials played both sides. The empire Flukey built was profitable, but it was also fragile and filled with enemies, and all of them were waiting for their moment. Chapter 6. The Assassination. On the night of November 19, 1986, Flukey Stokes left a residence on Chicago's South Side. He climbed into his 1986 Cadillac limousine alongside his longtime driver, while a woman sat in the back seat. Moments later, gunmen struck. A shotgun blast shattered the windshield. Automatic gunfire ripped through the car, tearing into both men in the front. The driver and Flukey were killed instantly. Miraculously, the woman in the back survived by diving onto the floor. Flukey was 48 years old. Police later identified Earl Wilson, a former bodyguard, as the man behind the assassination. Rumors circulated that betrayal from within Flukey's organization sealed his fate, perhaps as revenge, or perhaps to prevent him from cooperating with an impending federal case. His death exploded into the news, closing the chapter on one of Chicago's most notorious drug lords. Chapter 7. A Legacy of Glamour and Destruction. Flukey Stokes left behind a legacy as complex as the city he ruled. To some, he was a folk legend, a symbol of the underworld's golden age, where gangsters dressed like movie stars and lived like kings. To others, he was a villain whose empire fed addiction, destroyed families, and destabilized entire neighborhoods. After his murder, a violent power vacuum formed. Gang wars erupted across the South Side as former associates battled for control of the drug trade. The fallout cost dozens of lives and reshaped the criminal landscape for years. Yet Flukey's story remains unforgettable, a tale of ambition, charisma, crime, and spectacle. His life embodied the contradictions of Chicago's underground, a world where dazzling wealth and brutal violence sat side by side. Chapter 8. The legend lives on. Even decades later, Flukey Stokes remains a name people recognize. His flamboyant suits, his diamonds, his Cadillac coffins, his meteoric rise and violent fall. Documentaries, books, podcasts, and street legends continue to resurrect his story. For many, he symbolizes an era when Chicago's underworld was run not just by criminals, but by personalities, men who turned crime into theater and lived by their own rules, no matter the cost. Flukey's life is a reminder that even the most glamorous outlaw story eventually ends the same way, in betrayal, in bullets, and in legend.